Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at the Holiday Cup. The Holiday Cup going to be available in 4 hours, and so we're going to take a look, an early look at basically the meta that you're going to encounter and a very strong meta line for you to play as well. Here we're going to have a team around Chesnaught, and you're going to see in the first battle here already something interesting. You see here, I'm running a water gun on Lanturn, but on the right side there is Spark, because this was actually the first battle that I played. Usually all my battles are always randomized, but I kind of want to put it at the first one, because after this one I decided to swap over to Spark Lanturn, which is definitely the better way to go for, just because you're going to have a little bit of an issue against Altaria as well as Dragonite otherwise, and with Spark you're going to have a fine time there, so definitely going to be a little bit better for this team to have Spark on it. But of course, first battle I'm getting hardwalled immediately with this Altaria, which I guess is kind of good, because this kind of shows some tricky things with the team where you kind of want to shift something around, and here for example it just helped me to use the fast move basically there of Spark on my Lanturn instead of the water gun. Otherwise, why would you ever want to use Chesnaught in this current meta? Is already one cool example here right now. This Pokemon is great against normal type Pokemon. And there are a lot of normal type Pokemon, like this Litleo from the opponent, which is going to still survive the superpower with like 1 HP. This was very risky by the opponent, but basically there are a lot of normal type Pokemon, but there's also Lanturn, which is really common, really good, which you see as well. And basically it breaks the core of Lanturn plus the Vigoroth here, which you also have on our team. So definitely a very solid Pokemon for exactly this kind of purpose, but let's move on to the next game. Next opponent coming through, we're going to have the Altaria in the lead. What a surprise, but this time around we're going to have the Spark instead of the Water Gun. And now we can take a look at how this kind of shifts the matchup while the opponent makes a great play by swapping into their own Lanturn here. They still were able to catch a Thunderbolt, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to overfarm by a lot, trying to catch a Thunderbolt on my Chesnaught, but even if we don't catch, it does not matter, because we're gonna get the energy still on our Lanturn. And now we can go for a full farm down. We're going to be able to resist everything they're gonna go for, and as I decide to go for a Surf here, they might be able to still reach another Surf afterwards, but even then it doesn't really matter, and they don't even get there, because we still would have been able to survive it. And like this, we can just go for some superpowers against the opponent's Altaria, getting them a little bit lower. While it's going to be resisted, it's still going to be okay for us. As you can see here, superpower is just doing a ton of damage, and we're gonna see the opponent swapping into a Vigoroth, and I'm totally okay with this matchup, because at this point I just kind of want to get shields from the opponent. I don't really care too much about the health of the Vigoroth, because if we get shields I might be able to just farm them down with my own Vigoroth and basically just go for some Rock Slides later on against the Altaria. But we're actually still going to be able to reach a Surf, which I did not expect, which is really good for us. And as you can see here, we're going to put them into farm down range for our Chesnaught, allowing us to even reach another superpower against the Altaria. So many resistant superpowers onto them, but they're still chunk, as you can see here, as you're going to be able to easily win this game. Next opponent coming up, well, let's see what they're going to bring to the table. We're going to encounter Jellicent in the lead, which is going to be amazing for this team, as they're going to swap out into the Alolan Sandslash, getting out the Vigoroth. I don't think that Alolan Sandslash is a safe swap that you should use in the current meta, because it does not really make too much sense. But honestly, the Pokemon that they had in the back, which you're going to see soon, is going to be a little bit of a trickier one for this team, and there's going to be another Pokemon which you're going to see as well during this gameplay here in general that is going to be also a little bit tricky for this team, but we're going to take a look at this a little bit later. Here we're going to see that the Jellicent does do a great job here, but they're not running Bubble. If you saw my top team video, definitely try to run Bubble on Jellicent, because Jellicent with Bubble is going to be way better against Vigoroth, way better against most of the current meta Pokemon. Here you see the final Pokemon from the opponent, which is going to be the Bombers now. I try to get some damage onto them, and I try to get a Surf off here, which hopefully is going to get a shield from the opponent, because I have to get rid of their shields. Gonna get the first shield from the opponent, which is amazing. But they still have one more shield left. Energy Ball is coming through, and I still try to get to the Surf, and I will be able to reach that Surf in time. And honestly, I completely forgot about it, because here I get another shield, which is huge for me, because now I can just go for the shield as well here, go for the Body Slam, and get the knockout against the opponent here with a Body Slam, which is amazing for me, because like, again, I thought they still had a shield left, but like this, I'm going to be easily able to win this game, and we can move on to the next one. Next opponent is coming up here. Let's see what they're going to run. They're going to run a Skeledirge in the lead. This is going to be amazing for me, because I have Surf, because I have some super effective damage coming through against them. And like this, I'm going to be able to do some nice damage against them with its Surf. Not going to get the knockout, but what we can do here is we can swap out into the Vigoroth, onto a potential Shadow Ball here. is going to be the disarming voice, but it's still okay, as the opponent swaps out into the Skarmory, and that's kinda how you want to play this line as well. You're going to have a double weakness to flying type Pokemon with your Pokemon in the back here with the Chesnaught, so you kinda want to swap out into your Vigoroth, which is now having coverage for flying type Pokemon, while your lead is going to be very good against flying type Pokemon as well. So basically, your lead is a hard counter to flying types, your Save Up is a soft counter to flying types, and your Pokemon in the back literally does not want to encounter them at all. So this is really good for us, as we're going to be able to now realign, basically, not realign, but get a ton of energy here, going to be able to get some Thunderbolt onto the opponent. They're going to have a Dub Wall, which is going to be weak against the superpower of our Chesnaught, which is going to be really good for me. So we can still just go for another superpower here. This is going to be able to get the shield from the opponent as expected, and I can just go for another superpower. I thought that the opponent might want to swap out, but they do not, and so I'm going to be able to get them insanely low. I can let this move go through, and at this point, Lanturn is all I need. Lanturn is all I need to win this game, as I can just go for the full farm down, and we can move on to the next game. 2 Shield Flex Off's kinda nice, but what is not really nice is going to be a Vigoroth in the lead. I guess it's kinda okay for us. Vigoroth in the lead is actually kinda doable for us, because we're going to have still, like, Thunderbolt, for example, here, but also Body Slam and Counter on the back, and you have like some decent instants in the back, but you kind of want to still stay in for a little bit and then swap out. The opponent makes actually a great play here, because they basically went up to 100 energy, which makes it a little bit more awkward for me to swap out of this matchup, because I'm going to be forced to use some shields here as my own Vigoroth, which is not really ideal for me. So as you can see here, Vigoroth is going to down, going to be able to do some decent damage, but let's take a look at this one. We can still go for a Body Slam there. This is gonna get the knockout against them, and let's see what they're going to run in the back. They're going to have their own Lanturn, which looks really good for me, because now I can align my Chesnaught against them, and I can still go for some Body Slams, which should get a ton of damage onto them. Maybe just get them into the farm down range, which I kind of hope for. The opponent decides to go for a charge move here, so they're most likely going to be weak against me in the back, right? Let's see what they're going to actually run in the back here. It's going to be the Charger Bug, and I did not really expect this one. And maybe I should go more often for the Frenzy Plant over the Superpower. And also, what I did wrong here is I thought still at this point that I still had Water Gun. And I was like, oh, wait, I have Spark again. So, yeah, basically, one of the reasons why I went for Water Gun over Spark in the first place was actually the Charger Bug, because Charger Bug was one of the biggest issues for this team. So yeah, this Pokemon can be a little bit tricky. But as you can see here, with some team play, we're actually going to be able to still knock this Pokemon out. And if I went for one Frenzy Plant here, I think I would have been fine, because as you're going to see here, the opponent still gets to move, but I would have been able to get to at least one Frenzy Plant instead of the Superpower, and so the opponent can still knock me out because of the defense drops. Next opponent coming up, another Skeledirge Force in the lead, which is going to be amazing. As you will see, the Vigoroth swapping in. We kind of hope that they're going to go straight for the charge move, which they do, which just allows them basically to negate the fact that they were one turn behind, which is kind of annoying for me, but I can still go for a Surf, and I try to get either some damage onto them or the shield advantage. Both of them is fine. We're going to get the damage, and with the damage, I can just swap out immediately and go for the full farm down. If we get the shield advantage, you could argue to stay in for a little bit, both of which is totally fine here. As you can see, we can just realign, and so the Skeledirge is gonna go up against the Vigoroth. We can still go for a charge move here. Maybe I should go for the Body Slam here just in case, but yeah, okay, it didn't even work out anyway. And so I can go into my Lanturn. I know that I lose the MP tie, so I'm going to use a shield here just in case it's going to be a Shadow Ball, which would be amazing for me if it is, because it takes a lot of energy, and it is going to be a Shadow Ball. And so we're going to see the Dunsparce coming in, and I can swap out into my Chesnaught. And the cool thing here is Chesnaught completely hardwalls every single move of Dunsparce. Literally the worst possible matchup for the Dunsparce. Going to completely get walled here. Rock Slide resisted, Drill Run resisted. Drill Run is, by the way, the way to go here. Don't go for Rock Slide in this scenario. Drill Run does a little bit more damage compared to Rock Slide. It's not like that much more. I think it's like, I don't know, 5 damage or something is the difference between Drill Run and Rock Slide. I'm not sure about, but it does not really matter. But Drill Run is still better to go for, because both of them are going to be resisted, and Drill Run is just the better move in general. Here, we're just going to make it like kind of easy. We can just go for a Surf, we can just go for a Thunderbolt, and I go for a Surf here on accident, which I didn't really want to, but it is going to be fine, because there's nothing that the opponent can do here anymore. I can just spark them down at this point, and we can move on to the next one. Next opponent, there are always some Pokemon that you can't really counter. One of them is going to be Whimsicott. Whimsicott is going to be a core breaker for both your Pokemon in the lead and the Pokemon in the back. And so I decided to swap out into the Vigoroth, hoping that they would stay in. And turns out they swapped out into the Talonflame, which I thought, okay, I can still take a move here at least. It's going to be the Flame Charge, and now I can still go for the Rock Slide. I cannot. This matchup was definitely way better for me back in the day when Incinerate wasn't buffed, but I guess, okay, we didn't have Rock Slide back in the day either. So, yeah, my only ploy here, or like my only hope here, is going to be to go for a full farm down, try to get as much energy as possible, so I can get the opponent's Whimsicott a little bit lower with a charge move here, and then swap out into my, basically into my grass type to get a Frenzy Plant off and maybe knock them out with that. Turns out they completely hardwall me, there's nothing I can do there. Next opponent, hopefully we don't get hardwalled again. We're going to encounter the Obstagoon in the lead. This is going to be an interesting one. Here, the opponent can go for some counter damage, some Night Slash damage, but as we can kind of have an ABB style line, I decided to swap out here. I didn't want to swap out immediately, but I just want to swap out now, allowing me to get some extra energy. I'm going to use a shield here just in case they decide to swap out afterwards and they're going to go into a Skeledirge. This is going to be okay for me because I can go for the Rock Slide, and the Rock Slide is going to be very decent for me. But they decide to use a shield, which I'm going to be okay with. I'm going to no shield the incoming disarming voice, and I can even still reach a Rock Slide, which is amazing for me, as this is going to get the opponent fairly low. I can go for a full farm down if I want to with my Lanturn, but I decided to go for a charge move instead, because I didn't want to get hit by the Shadow Ball from the opponent. And now I'm going to farm up to 5 fast moves, because it takes 5 counters to get to a Night Slash, and I can resist the Night Slash in the back. Unless you're going to have the matchup of the Chesnaught against whatever they have in the back laid on anyway. I decided to go for it straight away, and the opponent decides to stay in, get some extra energy, but they're going to have a Marowak in the back. A Lowland Marowak is a hard wall to me, but honestly, it's kind of still fine, because we still have a Surf Stout, because we got like the extra energy prior. I will be able to go for a Frenzy Plant, I can now go for a Surf, and as long as I don't get a debuff with Shadow Bone, I should be okay here, because I have some extra energy already. The opponent's, Obstagoon has some energy as well, but I can go for the Surf here. They didn't go for the Shadow Bone, so they didn't get the defense drop. And they try to go for their Night Slash here, but I can still reach my Surf in time, or just go for the farm down, and that's going to be it for this game. Next game coming up, let's see what they're going to run. We're going to have the Froslass in the lead. This is going to be an amazing lead for us, but still, Shadow Ball kinda chunks, and so what I decided to do here is I decide to use a shield immediately, because I know that they're gonna go for Shadow Ball, and I'd rather shield up guaranteed damage that hits me kinda hard, so I decided to go for a Thunderbolt now, hoping that they're going to let this move go through, which they do, and so they're going to be in farm down range for me. Turns out they're going to have a Digger Spear in the back, which is usually a great matchup for me. Even if they have Hyper Beam, I still should be able to survive one, but let's see what they're actually going to run. I feel like Hyper Beam is even a little bit better than Fire Punch for me, so I decided to let this move go through, and yes, it's going to be the Hyper Beam, but I can just go for a charge move against the opponent. Going for the Superpower, forcing 2 shields from them is for me at least a win, as we can now swap out into our Vigoroth, which can still do super effective damage with my fast move. Plus we have Body Slam, which is going to hit hard as well, kinda. As we will see the Fire Punch coming through, as they actually are running Fire Punch plus Hyper Beam, which I did not expect. I expected Scorching Sands for sure, because it's also kind of important in the current meta. And they swap out into the Emolga. Emolga needs 2 charge moves anyway, so I was wondering if like 2 Body Slams would be enough. It is not, which I just tested out, so I have to go for the Rock Slide. Rock Slide is going to be enough, and now it's basically Vigoroth plus Lanturn against the rest of the world. And as you can see here, Lanturn should have a great time at the end, hopefully, because they are not running any kind of ground type move anyway. We can just go for the Surf, and there's going to be a good game there. Also, what I kind of want to ask you, what team are you going to run for this cup? Let me know in the comment section. Might take a look at some of them as well and maybe make a video about it. But yeah, let me know in the comment section what you think of this cup. What are you going to run for this cup? Maybe there's something spicy that I missed out on as well. It would be interesting to take a look at. Also, later on, of course, we're going to have in the end card basically the top teams for this meta, which was a lot of work as well. Here we're going to encounter Hawlucha. This was a little bit of a trickier one. Luckily, the opponent decided to use a shield here. I decided to go for the Superpower in order to get my defense a little bit dropped, which helps them to get less farm basically. But it's not a great matchup at all. Hawlucha is going to be an interesting Pokemon to take a look at for this meta for sure. Definitely something that I kind of want to try out. Like honestly, I have my one build already, so I can try that one out as well. Has the move Flying Press, which is kind of cool, and we will see the Surf coming through. Gonna get the knockout here against the opponent, and they're going to have a Trevenant in the back. This game is not over yet. We can still hopefully go for a Rock Slide against the opponent, get them low enough for maybe a Body Slam afterwards. You can still double resist the fast move of the opponent, but it's not going to look really that great. But this is going to be a CMP tie, which is going to be okay for me. And as you can see, the opponent gets me low, but not low enough yet. I can go for the Rock Slide. This is going to get some damage onto them, so I can go for another Body Slam afterwards. And this might still not be over, but we have to see about this as I can now go into my Lanturn, but sadly I just barely missed out on the surf. CMP I lost to lose the game, but let's move on to the next one. Final game for today's video, let's see what they're going to run here. We're going to have the Lanturn against a Skeledirge again. Great lead for me, so the opponent decides to swap out into the Vigoroth. Again, I stay in here. You can't argue off going into your Chesnaught if you want to, not really into the Vigoroth because you're going to lose that matchup afterwards because you have an energy disadvantage, which is kind of annoying. So here we're gonna go for a surf, gonna get the opponent insane low, and again we can just swap out here, let this move go through, and I will be able to just reach some rock slides afterwards, which is kinda nice. So I can just go for 2 more fast moves against the Skeledirge, kinda same procedure as we saw already, I think 2 times on this video. Just go for the rock slide, get them a little bit low, maybe try to go for a body slam, but actually I can even reach another rock slide here, which is going to be amazing because it's going to get the knockout against the opponent. And so we basically took down 2 Pokemon with our Vigoroth, and now we're just going to have the double left, which is going to go up against the Chesnaught, which does super effective damage with the superpower. So I'm not really too scared. I can let the first move go through. I can go for my own charge move here. They decide to actually make an interesting play here, which I kind of like. They decide to go straight for the move here because otherwise I would have just went for 1 fast move and then swapped out. But this will allow me to still go for some more superpowers here, forcing the opponent to use their final shield. I can swap out, and I will swap out here, as I can survive even another body slam anyway, so like they have to go for 2 charge moves, and I can just go for the Thunderbolt, which does a ton of damage against the opponent. So this is going to be a very easy game at the end as well, as the opponent is going to go down after this charge move here. We're going to be able to just win this game. And so, this is going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.